All right, this week we're going to be talking about circles and angles. And these questions you're going to have to use a formula on. For example, the circumference is going to be pi, which is 3.14, times the diameter, which is the length of a circle, the length of the longest point. So the diameter, for example, would be all the way across here. The radius is only half of that. Okay? So it's going to be the diameter times 3.14. Now area, we're also going to have a formula that's called pi times the radius, and we're going to square that radius. Okay, so that's what that is. And so that's the difference between area and circumference. Circumference is, we're basically finding out what the perimeter is. Alright, so a rose garden is circular. With a diameter, and remember we got to know the difference between diameter and radius. Remember the diameter is all the way across, the radius is just half that to the center. This is 18 feet across, which is closest to the total area of that garden. Well, pi, you'll be given this, pi times r squared. Well, if the diameter is 18 feet, then the radius is going to be 9. So we're going to have 3.14 times 9 squared. Okay? So we basically got 3.14 times 81, because this squared is 9 times 9, which is 81. Okay? So now we have 3.14 times 81. We're going to multiply this out. 413. 0, this is 32, carry my 3. This is 8 times 1 plus 3 is 11, carry my 1. It's going to be 24, 25. Remember we're dealing with area here, not circumference. 4, 2, I'm sorry, 3, 4, and 25. Forgive my handwriting. I'm going to move this over 2 places. 254.34. And D is our answer. Now it says what is the closest. If I had gotten 260, this is what I would have gone with, because this is the one closest to it. Now as a quick shortcut, if you want, sometimes you can estimate using the number 3. It's a lot easier to multiply with. Get yourself in the ballpark and go from there. But I'm asking for a precise answer. That's how we do it. Okay. So that's how we do area. Now a circular swimming pool has a radius, remember that's from the middle, of 15 feet. The family that owns the pool wants to put a circular fence that is 5 feet away. Okay, so we're going to add another 5 feet here. And what that means is the radius between here and here is also going to be 15 plus 5. That is 5 feet away from the pool at all points. What is the closest circumference, which is the perimeter, that the fence will need? Well, if this is 15, then this is also 15. And this is also 5, because it says 5 is the number of feet all the way from all the points. So now we're going to have a diameter, and that's what we need to find the circumference. We need to find the diameter. This is going to be 5 plus 15 is 20, plus another 15 is 35, plus another 5 is 40. We have a diameter of 40. Let's double check. That's 30 plus 5 is 35, plus 5 is 40. Good. Now, as you know, and you can look at your formula sheet, you'll always have access to this with a CRCT and MyQuiz or test. The circumference is simply the diameter, which we have, times 3.14. Now, just quickly, if we wanted to estimate and say 3 times 40, we would get 120. And this is the closest choice to that, so our answer would probably be B, but we're going to go ahead and work this one out just in case. This is going to be 0, 0, 0. Break down my 0. This is going to be 6. Carry my 1. This is going to be 5. This is going to be 12. Forgive my handwriting. 0, 6, 5, 2, 1. I got to move my decimal place over twice. 125 feet, or 125.6 feet. That is the perimeter. That's basically how much fencing we will need to buy. The diameter first. Now this one, the diameter wasn't given to us. We had to find it. Number 2. And keep in mind, my numbers may be just a touch different from yours. Lana is putting lace trim around the border of a tablecloth. So let's say we've got a tablecloth here, a tabletop, and we're going to put some lace around that guy. The tablecloth has a diameter all the way across 1.2 meters to the nearest meter, to the nearest whole number. In other words, what is the least amount of lace that she's going to need to the meter? So obviously we're going to find out how much we need by multiplying 3.14 times 1.2. 8, was it 2, 6, 0, 3, 1, 4, 8, 6, 7, 3. I got to carry my decimal place over 1, 2, 3 times for an answer of 3.768. Well, we've got to round that. We've got to find out to the nearest meter. Let's say we can only buy it in, we couldn't buy a half a meter or 0.768 meters. So we've got to round that to the nearest meter. We wouldn't round it down to 3 anyway because 3 wouldn't be enough. Even if the answer were 3.02, we would still need 4. We don't have enough. Okay. Number 4, Randy's bicycle tires have a diameter of 42 meters, which is closest to the circumference. Again, we would multiply this times 3.14. I'm not going to do that one for you. Pete needs to install a circular window with a radius of, remember what radius is, from the middle, 7.25, which is closest to the amount of glass he will need. Remember, we are not going to multiply 7.25 times pi. We have to multiply the entire diameter, which is twice this. So we're going to say 7.25. We're going to multiply that by 2, and we're going to get 14.5. Then we're going to multiply that by 3.14 and get our answer. Number 6. Pizzas are sold by the diameter. Rihanna orders a 14-inch pizza. What is the closest to the area of the pizza? Closest to the area. Remember, area is pi r squared. So we have 3.14 times, this is the diameter, so we got to keep in mind the radius is always half of the diameter, so half of 14 is 7, and then of course we have to square that. So we're going to end up with 3.14 times 49, and let me just double check my math, 3.14 times 49, 153.86, right there. Again, I'm not going to do all these for you. Hopefully the first two got you clear with the concepts that you need. The circular pen has a diameter, all the way across the center, of 6.2, which is closest to the area of the pen, all right? Remember, we got to find the radius, which here, half of 6.2, just take my word for it, is 3.1, excuse me. We got to say pi times this, and then we got to square that. Okay? So let's just make sure we understand. I've got a circular pen with a diameter of 6.2. Well, if I want to find the area, I can't use the diameter, I have to use the radius, which is half of that. Half of 6.2 is 3.1, or 3.1. We have to multiply that by pi, which is 3.14. And this, pi times r squared. So we have to square this guy. Okay? So basically I have to say 3.1 times 3.1. This is 31 here. Carry my 0 down. This is 3, 9, 1, 6, 9, 9.61 times 3.14. I'm going to do my math on the calculator here. And I've got 30.1754, which rounds to that right there. If you need help with that, rewind it. What is the radius of a circle? when the circumference is 16 pi centimeters. What is the radius of a circle when the circumference is? So what we would have would be, what is the radius of a circle? So basically we're going to say pi times the diameter equals the circumference. So if this equals 16 pi, it looks to me like we could probably divide both sides by pi. Let's try that out. That cancels that out. D, the diameter, equals 16. Now I believe I'm doing this right. I'll have to double check my work. Now if I know the diameter is 16, I know that the radius therefore must be 8. If the circle below is divided into 6 equal pieces, if the radius of this circle is 3 centimeters, in other words that one will be 3 as well, what is the area of the shaded area? So this area up here is shaded. So what we need to do, basically, since that's half of it, we need to find out what the area of the circle is and cut it in half. As you know, the area of a circle is pi r squared. So we have 3.14 times 3 squared, which is 3.14 times 9, which is 36. Carry my 3. This is a 9 plus 2, 1, 27, 28. I'm going to move this guy over twice. 28.26 is my area. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut that in half because of this, so we're going to be somewhere around 14. Now let me just check my math. I want to make sure I'm right. If the radius is 3, so we've got 3.14 times radius r squared, 3 squared. Okay, so now we've got 3.14 times 9, because this squared is 9. Let me just check my math with my handy dandy calculator. 3.14 times 9 equals 28.26, which is exactly what I've got here. Cut that in half, it's going to be somewhere around 14, just under or just over 14. And I believe that's the last one for here. Now we're going to move on to angles. Which angle is complementary to FAE? FAE. Which one is complementary to FAE? FAE. Which one is complementary to FAE? Which one is complementary to FAE? Bear with me 1 second. A complementary angle, those are going to add up to 90 degrees. A complementary angle, two complementary angles next to each other are going to add up to 90 degrees. Supplementary angles are going to add up to 180. 180. In other words, they're going to make a flat line or a straight line. Again, bear with me 1 second. I'll be with you in just a second. So again, supplementary angles are going to add up to 180. Complementary angles are going to add up to 90. So it's asking, which angle is complementary to FAE? And of course, when you add these two up, they're going to equal 90. So it's going to be angle, careful with this, it's either going to be angle DAE or angle EAD. Going back, which angle is supplementary? Which angle is supplementary, which means they're going to add up to 180 to GAB. Supplementary to GAB. This one is 120. The difference between 120 and 180, of course, is 60. These two, so we're going to have angle BAC or angle CAB. That one is supplementary because they add up to 180. Again, complementary add up to 90. Which pair of angles is which one? In other words, which one are adjacent? And what adjacent means is they share a side. They share a side. So which one are we looking at here? Which pair of angles is it? Which pair of angles are adjacent angles? Well, I'm going to let you look at a bunch of these different ones. CAD is adjacent to DAE, and so on. EAF is adjacent to FAG, and GAB is adjacent to BAC, and so on and so forth. Basically, they share a side. They're adjacent to one another. Those are adjacent to one another. And just real quick, I want to tell you about vertical angles. Those two are basically right across from one another, and I'll have to give you an example later on. And forgive me, my numbers may be just a touch off of yours. Vertical angles. Example, and they're going to need to equal the same thing. And they're congruent angles, in other words, they're exactly the same. Now, you're thinking, well, I don't see any two that are exactly the same, but these two added up here, E, A, and G, are a total of 60 degrees. And of course, they're vertical right here to C, A, and B here. All right, so it doesn't necessarily have to be spelled out, because look, within E, A, and G, you have two other angles. You've got G, A, and F, and you've got E, A, and F right here. But these are vertical to one another, like so. These two angles right here. E, A, and G, and B, A, and C. Those are vertical angles. And so we'll need to know what all those mean. Now, angles A and B are complementary, which means they add up to what? That means they add up to 90. Well, if we know one, we can figure out the other one. If angle A is 35, what is the measure of angle B? All we have to do is simply say 90 minus 35, which is, what is it, 55. Therefore, B is 55 degrees. Now, if it said those were supplementary, like, for example, this angle here and this angle here, they have to equal 180 degrees. When that's the case here, anytime you see that box, that means 90. And that means 90, so if you add those two up, that does equal 180. Now, here you may have to draw a picture. It says angle J and angle K are supplementary, which means they form a straight line and have a perpendicular, well, it may not be perpendicular, but they do have a line coming down. And when you put those two angles together, they equal 180. So if angle K, and let's say this was K right here, let's say that equaled 84, what is the measure of J? Well, they have to equal 180, so all we have to do is simply say 180 minus 84, and we're going to come out with 96. So therefore, this must be 96, choice C. Use a diagram for questions 7 and 8. If if the measure of, and that's what that means, the measure of angle 1 is 48 degrees, what is the measure of angle 4? These are vertical, and therefore they are going to be the same. They are going to be the same measure, vertical measures, because you've got a straight line going through here and a straight line going through here. What is the measure of angle 4? It also has to be 48 degrees. If the measure of angle 4 is 2x, and the measure of angle 5 is 4x, what is the value of x? What is the value of x? Now this is a weird one, but if you think about it, we can solve this. 4 and 5 are supplementary angles, meaning that they add up to 180 degrees. So can we add those up, set that equal to 180 and solve for x? Can we not say 4x plus 2x equals 180? Can we not do that? Let me get rid of that guy. Is it 4x plus 2x, 6x equals 180? This is a one-step equation, and this is one of those reasons why I harped on you about doing these so well. All we have to do is divide both sides by 6. These cancel out. 6 into 180 equals 30. Therefore, the value of x is 30. In the diagram below, bear with me a second. In the diagram below, DAE is a right angle, and the measure of BAF is 155 degrees. What is the measure of BAC? What is the measure of B, A, and C? Explain your answer. Well, if this is in fact 155 degrees, this angle adding to it, these two are what we call supplementary, which means they add up to 180. Therefore, all we have to do is find the difference between 155 and 180. So we'll say 180 minus 155, which is 25. Therefore, this is 25 degrees. Okay. So now we know that. Now we also know that because these are vertical, this is 25 degrees. And by the way, another hint, all of these added up have to be 360 because this one's this one is 180 and this one's 180. Now also, we can also find out what this is. Now that we know that this is 90 degrees, because they told us that, and then you have 25 for a total of, what is that, 115 degrees, we know that the remainder must be the difference between that and 180. So we can subtract that from 180. And what does that give us? 65. So therefore, this is 65 degrees. And I think that's our next question. What is the measure of F, A, and E? And, so we got that F, A, E is 25 degrees. C, A, and D, which is 65. Explain your answer. Okay, so let's just double check. 65 plus 25 is 90, plus 90 is going to equal 180. 25 plus 155 is 180. Okay. Two angles are complementary, which means they equal 90 degrees. So we got one here and one here. One measure is 59. This is 4n minus 1. What is the value of n? Well, basically, we know that these two added up have to equal 90, so we're going to have 4n minus 1 plus 59 equals 90. Well, Now we can combine like terms and say 4n. Negative 1 plus 59 is a positive 58, so we're going to say plus 58 here, equals 90. Now we got to subtract. We got to subtract 58 from both sides. That's going to cancel out, so we're going to have 4n. 90 minus 58 is 32. Divide both sides by 4. 8.